Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry, and today I'm going to go through the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. It's a free museum, so there's that. You know what that means. And they do have some artifacts here that you're not going to find in any other museum, and that's kind of the main thing I came to see. Comparatively, it's kind of similar to a lot of American history museums around the country, but it does have some very specialty items. So come on with me and I'll show you around. A lot of the museum looks like this, with a lot of reading to do. And there's some canning supplies. Did you know that these are called jar rubbers? This is one of the original batteries to store electricity. And this was used to create static electricity. Here's some clothes washing equipment from the 1800s. It was a little more complicated back then. Here's a teapot protesting the Stamp Act. And here is a very larger-than-life statue of George Washington, and one of his very rare topless posings. Columbia was one of the symbols of America that you may not have heard of. I don't think I have. Here are some artifacts from Hawaii.
I know, but is this a real one?
And Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's not a weapon.
Here's a version of the Statue of Liberty I bet you've never seen. Holding tomatoes. And a different looking face for sure. And this country has quite a history with censorship. This is about 10 feet high. Can you guess what it is? It is a very elaborate type of clock. And this country has never been shy about protesting things they don't agree with. We have a collection here of symbols of Americana. These are about political campaigning. And about voting. Well, I'm kind of amazed they saved this wagon back from those days. Here's a history of voting rights. I bet this didn't go over too well. Here's a printing press from the late 1700s. What I've shown you so far is on the second floor, which is the street level. And now I've moved up to the third floor. What do you think? I don't see any difference. They've got Hank Aaron's bat and glove. Okay, folks, guess what this is? Edison's talking machine. And this is Bell's gramophone, as opposed to Berliner's gramophone. And look at this, they have the actual telescope. And this horse carriage was owned by Ulysses S. Grant. Here's a couple interesting things. That's a small printing press. And this other item is like a factory time clock. One of the first, maybe the first original factory time clock. Wonder why it needed all those buttons. Here's a cash register from 1894. And you remember when small household appliances were not made out of plastic? Here's President Washington's Surveyor compass. And this is his easy chair. The actual chair that Washington used to sit in, to take it easy, I guess. And amazingly, they still have this. Wow. I wonder what that's about. You remember Lincoln Logs? Here's an actual ballot box from 1919. This is a surgical kit from the Civil War. And this is a Civil War cannon. And here's a photo of it actually being used. Here's an actual helicopter that was used in the Vietnamese War. It's called the Huey, but I don't think it had a television like that in it back then. How would you like to go camping with General Washington? There's his camping chair and his chest of camping supplies. And from here on starts the first floor exhibits. This is a steam locomotive from 1831. This is something I've never heard of. And they actually have one here. Here's a display of all sorts of early electrical devices, electromagnets, meters, generators, motors and batteries. Here's a generator from 1879. They've got a collection of toasters. I think this is the oldest one from 1910. Here is a suction sweeper from 1908. And here is a waffle iron from 1910. This is a steamship engine from 1945. And a collection of small steam engines. All sorts of things here. That's what they're calling this display. All sorts of steam engine parts for various uses. And this is a hot air pumping engine, which I don't think I've ever heard of. All sorts of electric light inventions. And if you read about Thomas Edison, you'll find that he did not invent the light bulb. he just made it more efficient. He was actually more of a marketer than anything else. Here's a car I've been looking for a while. A 1948 Tucker. And this car has a very interesting history. It's the GM EV1. It's an all-electric car. They manufactured thousands of them, but they never sold a single one. They only leased them out. And when they decided to discontinue it, all of the leases were recalled and the people had to return them. And they ended up crushing and destroying most of them. They saved a number of them for museums, but every one they saved, they made them so that they could not be drivable anymore. There's the charger. Parts were disconnected and removed so they couldn't be drivable. So all the ones you see in museums are not functional cars, except this one. The Smithsonian refused to accept any vehicle that was not functionally drivable. But GM wanted it on display here, so this is the only EV1 car in the world, as far as I know, from what I've read, that is still functionally drivable. They only have a few examples of cars here and that big truck. Here's a Woody wagon. Don't see any of those anymore. My grandfather had one. I just thought that was amazing. They actually made them not for the design, but because metal products were rationed at the time. So those wood pieces are not attached to the metal sides. They are in place of the metal sides. I bet you've never seen stop signs like this. Parking meters from as early as 1930. This is a ship built in Virginia in 1775, and it was built for the purpose of transporting tobacco from the States over to England. And it is a very large scale of the original boat. The whole thing is must be about 12 feet long. And they have a whole section here about displays on food. Back in the early days of grocery stores, all of the products were kept in backroom storage. You had to tell the clerk what you wanted and he would go get it, until one guy invented the shopping carts and brought his merchandise from the back room to the front. I ate lunch at our cafeteria here, and yes, that is expensive. That's one way of paying the museum. And right across from that, they have this virtual reality room, if you're interested in that. But that you do have to pay for. Well, I think the best thing about the museum are the artifacts that you're not going to find anywhere else. Good day, folks.